Hey guys, Eric and Nohos here with Navy to Navy Homes. Hey guys, so we're going to start a video series specifically for VA buyers and VA sellers, just because there's a lot of misinformation out there on how to obtain a mortgage or what route to go when I'm buying a house using my VA loan. Katie and I have been doing this for the past 3 years, and we've seen all kinds of different scenarios with VA loans, and so we really want to address some of those issues, maybe some concerns, or maybe just even some things you didn't even know about the VA loan. I am not a mortgage broker, but I'm going to handle and talk about the VA side of things that we see from the real estate side, and hopefully you guys find this useful. So stick around. I'm going to talk to you guys today just about the initial zero down payment, and do you need to bring any money to the closing table when using a VA loan. Okay, so today we're going to cover VA loan closing costs, what they are you going to bring any money to the closing table or not? That's a conversation we like to have right up front when we're talking to a new customer, just to kind of bring out, hey, some of these questions that we're having, whether or not you need any money. The thing we hear about VA loans, it's a zero down payment, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to bring any money to the closing table. Now, specifically speaking, it's about 3% in closing costs. This is just an estimate. This is kind of what's trending. Different times of the year, it's going to be a little bit more, it's going to be a little bit less. But just for a rough average, it's about 3% of the purchase price of the home. Really, the loan amount is what your closing costs are going to be. So, for example, like on a $200,000 house, your closing costs are going to be close to around $6,000. And so there's a lot of ways to navigate that. Currently here in Northeast Florida, because we're going to just pretty much talk about things that are specific to Jacksonville, Florida. It could be different in different parts of the states. I'm not an expert in any of that stuff, but I just know what's kind of trending here in Jacksonville. So again, around on a $200,000 house, you're looking at about $6,000 in closing costs. So where I was going with that is that typically it is very common for buyers to ask the sellers to help them with their closing costs. So how does that work? We can break down the payment. So let's say the house, it's a $200,000 house. It's been on the market for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You may have a good shot of asking the seller to cover all of your closing costs, or maybe even a portion of your closing costs. If it's brand new on the market, you may not get that opportunity, but hey, you never know what the position of the seller's in, so you may want to ask them anyway. So typically you can ask them for a full price offer and ask them for your full closing costs, maybe a full price offer and some of your closing costs. And sometimes the scenario we find ourselves in a lot is when you add your closing costs to the purchase price and then ask them to cover that. For example, let's say you needed all those closing costs at $200,000, which was going to be $6,000. You may just offer them $206,000 and ask them for that $6,000 in closing costs. That might be an option. The only problem you run in there is that if the house is already priced on the high end, you may not get that the house to appraise. So that's a whole different thing we can talk about in a different episode when we talk about the appraisal. But that's kind of the closing costs. Upfront costs with the VA loan, that's again the other thing, the closing costs, and you also need some money liquid. And so what I'm talking about here, when we go under contract, you typically have to put down what they call a binder deposit. That's what we call it here in Northeast Florida in Jacksonville. But in other parts of the country, you may hear it as earnest money, a good faith deposit. But here in Jacksonville, we call it a binder deposit. So typically, it's at the price point $300,000 and below, it's around $1,000. Sometimes we're seeing sellers ask the buyers to put in at least 1%. So on a $200,000 house, that'd be about $2,000. Again, this is a negotiable term, so it doesn't have to be that 1%. So just somewhere in between there. We'll stick with $1,000 for the binder because that's very common here in Jacksonville. And then there's some other costs that are going to come out of your pocket. You have home inspections. If VA buyers, you're going to have WDO inspections. If you're buying a house on well water or a septic tank, you're going to have different inspections that you have to do there. So what's required with the VA loan for your inspections? The WDO, which stands for wood destroying organism. They're going to look for any type of wood decaying organisms. So what that's going to be, it's going to be like wood rot or termites, beetles, anything that's eating the wood. So in order for the VA loan to continue moving forward, you're going to have a clear WDO. The next thing, if you're on well water, you're going to have to get a well water test to make sure there's no bacteria in there. So those are the two inspections that are required. The home inspection, believe it or not, is actually optional. That's a question we get all the time, like, well, I thought this was mandated by the VA. I think the inspection that most people are referring to is actually when the appraiser comes out there. The house does have to pass this thing called minimum property requirements. So there's a checklist of items that the VA appraiser is going to go through and make sure that the house passes these VA minimum property requirements. You can find those actually online. Just Google VA NPR, which is minimum property requirements, and you'll see a whole list of things that the house has to have in order for the appraiser to go ahead and say, good to go. So the home inspection and the septic tank inspection, those are optional. Highly, highly, highly recommended. I personally wouldn't buy a house without doing a home inspection, just because when you go through there, everything you're looking at is cosmetic, and the home inspector is going to get on your roof, in the attic. It's going to use infrared cameras, look for any type of moisture, any type of leaks. They're going to look at your electrical, plumbing, all kinds of cool stuff, things that typically I don't see until the home inspector is really kind of just dig in there, and it's a non-intrusive search, but they will find stuff. I mean, it's not 100%, you know, sometimes you're going to find stuff where things are going to break, but get a home inspection. And then your septic tank inspection. Big things here, make sure you want to get somebody to go out there, you know, pump it out, look at the baffles, make sure that the septic tank pump is working, look at the drain field. So those are your inspections there. So typically your home inspection is going to cost around anywhere between $400 and $550. And then depends if you got to add well water or septic tank. Those can be add up. So let me back up a little bit. So right now we're at the binder deposit. We've done $1,000, and then your inspection's going to be average $500. And then the last expenditure you're going to have come out of your pocket is the appraisal. The appraisal typically costs anywhere between $450, $500, somewhere around there. It could be a little bit more, a little bit less, but on average it's about $500. So the money that we were talking about in the beginning was to have liquid. It's about $2,000. But if you think about it, if you're going to move into an apartment complex, typically you're going to have to pay first month's rent, and you're going to have to do a deposit, you know, so a security deposit. And that's typically going to be more than your $2,000 upfront costs. So really, I'm just going to break them down again. You have your closing costs, about 3% of the loan amount. And typically on a VA loan, it's 100% financing, so it's going to be the purchase price of the home. And then you need about $2,000 liquid in order to go. That's broken up into your binder deposit, your home inspection fees, and your appraisal. So this is where it gets really cool, guys. There are programs out there like Homes for Heroes that if you couple that with your binder deposit, and if you get the sellers to cover your closing costs, you may not have to bring any money to the closing table. We have examples of families we've helped that they've gotten their whole binder deposit back. They've gotten Homes for Heroes check back. So they practically bought the house for free. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And so we can talk about Homes for Heroes in a different video. It's something that Katie and I are extremely passionate about. If you want to know more information, I'll drop a link right here. You can see it. And then, yeah, you guys can learn some more information. We got another video on Homes for Heroes that'll definitely help you guys out. So yeah, the VA loan is awesome, awesome product. I will leave you with this. If you're a first-time home buyer and you're shopping for your VA loan and you don't know where to start, and you can shoot us a message, comment below. I'll tell you, for me personally, when I first started trying to go and look for a VA loan, you know, I typed in VA loan in Google, and this website showed up and it said, hey, apply for your VA loan here. So I thought this was the only people that provided VA loans. I didn't realize it was a product that you could search around, you know, like Navy Federal, USAA, Veterans United. There are a number of local lenders here that are going to give you that personalized experience throughout the whole process that can help you out. So you want to just, you know, see what kind of fit you have. Interest rates, you're going to shop all that stuff, see how available they are. And so, yeah, you don't have to just go with the people that show up on Google as a quick little ad. I didn't know that. I would have been spending all kinds of extra money that I didn't have to have and spend. So I'm glad I learned about that, and I'd love to be able to share that information with you guys, because you do not have to pay these extra things like loan origination fees, which is typically at 1% of the loan amount, which is not a required fee. And so you can, on a $200,000 house, imagine yourself saving $2,000 on something you didn't have to spend, because there are other lenders out there that aren't charging that. So I'll go ahead and leave you with that. Again, VA loan, it's a zero down payment program, but there are things like closing costs and there are initial costs with it. So if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below, or you can just message me directly and I'll definitely have a conversation with you, or you can call me at 904-607-7202. Thanks guys for watching that, and then we'll keep these series up with VA loans and VA buyers and VA sellers. That way you guys can learn a little bit about the process. Thanks, talk to you soon, bye.